Everyone to Texas A&M's Virtual Campus Sustainability Month. Thanks for joining us all month long as we've had events this all month of October, and there's even a couple events happening in November, bonus events you might want to call them. So this is our last event with the Texas A&M Office of Sustainability, the one that we're hosting. So we have a great conversation to end things. So really excited for this conversation from Professor Gan. He is a professor of forest economics and management in the Department of Ecosystem Science and Management, and he's going to talk to us about forest conservation. But before we get to Professor Gan, we're going to just go over a couple of directions. So first, we just ask that you turn your computer and your Zoom into side-by-side mode. That'll be the best way to view this presentation. You can turn on your subtitles. That would just be a great way. If you wanted to watch the presentation that way, you're able to do that. We also ask that you keep your mics muted, please. And then you can ask questions at any time in the chat. And at the very end, we'll have a Q&A. So any questions you've asked, we will ask them then. And at that time, since we don't have a lot of people on the call, we can also turn on cameras or unmute ourselves and just ask the questions as well during that time. And then just a couple of pieces of housekeeping in the Office of Sustainability. We have Sustainability Champion Awards. So if you are a professor, a student, faculty, staff, you can actually get nominated for a Sustainability Champion Award. You can nominate yourself, you can nominate others. So just a great way to get recognized. Also, we have an internship program. Applications open on Monday. They close on November 9th. You can find those at our website, and you can find information about the Champion Awards on our website as well. And you also may be interested in prizes that we've been offering throughout the month. So there's going to be a code word at some point during this presentation. It might be written in the chat. It might be spoken by Dr. Gan or myself, or it could be on a slide. So what we're going to ask you to do is keep track of that code word, write it down. If you collect 2, you get a water bottle. 3 will get you a t-shirt. 5 gets you a water bottle and a t-shirt. Just email all your code words in one email to sustainability@tamu.edu by November 9th. And you can pick up your prize. You have to pick it up on the College Station campus. Unfortunately, we're not able to offer shipping. On the one good note is you don't have to watch it live. So you can watch this up. You can watch recording of this. You can still collect your code word, and it'll be on our YouTube page at the conclusion of today's event. And then also, if you have heard of Maroon Base, it's a great way for you to collect points and claim cash prizes through the university, through the School of Innovation. So check that out, and you can contact them to see how you go about getting credit for these events. All of our events are qualify for that. So with that, once again, Dr. Gan is a professor of forest economics and management in the Department of Ecosystem Science and Management. He is also a faculty affiliate of Texas A&M Energy Institute and jointly appointed in the Department of Agricultural Economics. His current research centers on the economics of bioenergy and natural and human disturbances, including climate change, wildlife, pest infestation, and invasion of alien species that are related to forest resource management conservation. He is also keen on issues related to forest product trade, forestry governance, and socially or economically disadvantaged forest landowners. In addition, he has research experience in bioenergy and sustainable forest management in Africa, Asia, and Latin America. So I'm definitely impressed after reading that biography. Really happy that you are here to conclude our events with our office, and I'm going to pass it over to you, Dr. Gan, and take it over when you're ready.
Howdy. Thank you, Ben, for the nice introduction, and thank you for having me today. I'm going to talk about, can you see my screen? Let me make sure the screen is up.
Not yet, not just yet.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
All right.
Yep, it's up now.
So I'm going to talk about forest conservation. Many of you know this is not a new topic, but deforestation is still with us. That's the reason I'm talking about this topic to you today. I will focus on 2 things. First, what is going on with deforestation? What is the current state of forest deforestation? And what's behind it? Second, what can we do about it? There are many causes of deforestation, and quantify deforestation is a challenge. According to one of the later reports from the United Nations FAO, Food and Agriculture Organization, the global deforestation rate has decreased during the last 5 years to about 10 million hectares per year. However, another study by Global Forestry Watch indicates global deforestation has gone up during the last few years. Nevertheless, 10 million hectares per year, which is about 2.5 size of forest area in East Texas, is still big and deserves our attention. There are many causes of deforestation, but production of these 4 commodities, beef cattle, soybeans, palm oil, and of course, wood products, dominate. Some studies point out these 4 commodity groups, the production of these 4 product groups, have accounted for more than half of total global deforestations. And nearly 70% deforestation in Amazon is somehow related to beef cattle operations. So the fundamental driver of deforestation is our demand for these products. We use wood material from tropical forests. We convert forestry in tropic for agricultural production, especially for commercial agricultural productions. And the production of these 4 commodities, as we mentioned, have a lot of implications for global deforestation or forestry conservation. Moreover, the production and consumption of these 4 commodities is also related to other products we consume. So this makes us think about, as a consumers, how we can be more effective. How can we help to conserve global forests? If we don't do carefully or thoughtfully, what we do can have unintended consequences. So there are a set of questions we needed to ask ourselves. First, should we use wood, or should we eat a burger, of course, beef burger, and palm oil? The question may sound simple, but it can help us, or can facilitate our thinking. The other questions including, where should we produce forestry or agricultural products? And why thinking globally is important, what we can do, especially as a consumer. I will talk about these questions one by one, but I will do it in a slightly different way by explaining 3 phenomena or concepts: product substitution, conservation leakage, or displacement, and illegal logging. Should we use wood? We know we use different types of materials, including metal, concrete, plastic, or wood as a building materials. And each of these materials has a unique advantage or disadvantage. And we know they can substitute with one another in many cases. For example, when we check out from a grocery store, we face a choice between paper or plastic bags. Which one do you use? Which one is better, paper or plastic? The question again sounds simple, but the right answer is not easy and depends many different factors. For example, what are we going to do with the bag out of use? What kind of material we use to produce these bags, and so on. Nevertheless, use of wood is a good choice in many cases. So if we're going to use wood, where should wood come from? Should it come from rainforests or from plantations, just like what you see in East Texas and Southeast US? Those plantations compared to rainforests is much more environmentally benign. But why we still harvest timber from tropical forests? because some consumers like special physical or chemical features of tropical timber. And of course, some producers can get wood material from tropic at a lower cost than what they can get it from here in US or some other place with plantation. Similarly, for agricultural productions, on the one hand, we know as our human population grows, we need to produce more agricultural products. On the other hand, by doing so, we will somehow lead to land use and land cover change across the globe. So again, should we cutting down tropical forests for commercial agricultural production? This is something we need to ask ourselves. Can we do something different? Can we produce more agricultural products in different ways, not cutting down tropical forests? You know, many of us have been working on that, including people from our campus, working very hard on address food security issues and meanwhile try to protect the environment. Now let's talk about conservation leakage or displacement. What do we mean by leakage or displacement? And you probably remember what you learned from physics class. Displacement means something is moved from one place to another place. That something doesn't disappear. Instead, it was relocated to a different location. So what is conservation leakage? Same thing. It means, for example, in forestry, the conservation leakage means deforestation saved in one place was shipped to another place. In other words, one place conservation could lead to forestry destruction in another place or other places, undermine the overall effectiveness of the conservation effort. Here is an example of forestry conservation leakage or displacement. This example is about forestry protection in China and Finland. And all of you know, China and Finland have borders with Russia. So when China and Finland protect their domestic forestry resource, guess what happened? They import more timbers from Russia. So they actually transfer timber harvest from their domestic forestry resource to Russia. That is not helpful for global forestry conservation. We did an assessment on forestry conservation leakage at the global levels, and we find that on average, the leakage is very high, actually somewhere around 80%. For example, if we save 1 acre of trees in US, somewhere else in the world will cut down 0.767 acres trees. So what's the net gain? It's less than 0.25, right? We also find that collaboration in forestry conservation among a few countries, including developing countries or developed countries, will not be very helpful. When you look at the number on the bottom of the tables, the leakage is still about 0.6 or 0.8%. So we're not going to help much if only a few countries collaborate in forestry conservation. The leakage or displacement not only limit to forestry productivity, agricultural production also can lead to deforestation or conservation leakage. Here's one example related to ethanol or corn ethanol productions. Many of you know, in our countries, we use a lot of corn to produce corn ethanol. When we increase the use of corn for ethanol productions, the corn price at the global market will increase. Then other countries, they needed corn to feed themselves or to raise the animal. So what are they going to do? They're going to produce more corn, but they don't have a lot of idle land left over. So they have to cut down trees to plant more corn. That is we call it indirect land use change. Actually, is a different form of conservation leakage. Another example related to agricultural production is palm oil plantation. We use palm oil for different products. For example, candy bar, we use palm oil, right? But some other country, especially in recent years, they import palm oil for biodiesel production. So green energy production. How green it is. Again, same thing, when we use more palm oil, the price will going up. So some countries or some producers will find incentive to cut the tree down, especially in tropical forests, to plant palm trees and produce more palm seeds for oil productions, either for agricultural purposes or other purposes. That would somehow convert a significant amount of tropical rainforest for agriculture or palm oil palm plantations. Caused a lot of deforestation in recent years. Lastly, but not least, illegal logging and related timber trade. We did an assessment on global status of illegal logging and related timber trade in about 4 years ago. And we found that many countries are somehow involved in import of illegal timbers from the tropic, with China being the dominant importer of illegal log. Illegal logging is not only related to timber productions. Agricultural production, especially commercial agricultural production, is also contribute to illegal logging. Because out of illegal logging, whatever left over on the land will be more easier or more easily to be justified for conversion for commercial agricultural productions. In fact, illegal conversion of forestry land for commercial agricultural production is a significant part of illegal logging. So what China import, especially timber materials, is not all for the domestic consumptions. A significant portion of China import, 1/3 of China imported wood products, for example, are used to manufacture end products, which was exported to many countries, including US. For example, we import a lot of furniture. Actually, #1 importer of China's furniture for our use. And many other countries do the same, Japan, UK, and many other countries in West Europe, Australia as well. They import furniture and other wood products from China. And some countries even import toilet paper made from tropical forests. So you will know that something is not right and we needed to do a better job. So who should be responsible for deforestation? This map shows the main destinations of tropical forest agricultural products produced from tropical forestry land. These are products including the 4 commodity group we talk about: beef, soybean, palm oil, and wood products. You see, many countries contribute to tropical deforestations in one way or another. So forestry conservation or deforestation is not only a forestry issue. It's not a local issue anymore. It's a global issue. It's a societal issue. This brings to my final message. Because it's broader and complex issues, so we all must work together. Both private and public sectors must and can do better, and both forest and non-forestry sectors need to work together. Second, consumer can be powerful. That's because the fundamental driver is our demand for products. What we buy, what we use, have a lot of implications for deforestation and for forest conservation. Of course, meanwhile, we need to work with the supply side to address the issue as well. Finally, thinking globally, act locally. More importantly, we needed to do both more prudently. At least, we must minimize the unintended negative consequence of our actions. Thank you for your attention.
All right, Professor Gan, thank you so much for that presentation. It's really interesting to learn more about forest deforestation, especially getting it from your perspective. I know you obviously have done a lot of research and have a lot of knowledge on this topic. So now is definitely the time if anyone wants to ask any questions. Now is the time to ask those questions. To get us started, I have a few questions I can ask myself. I was wondering, when you were talking about like population growth, and you were saying, you know, with population growth, we see kind of an increase in deforestation. I was wondering if you could talk about population growth and also in relation to like unequal consumption. I think you kind of brought up that not every country is consuming in the same way.
Thank you. That's a good question. And that's a tough question. We know population is the fundamental driver of many things, including deforestation and forest conservation. So what we can do with population is not something we can control it. We maybe can do something, and maybe there's another way to deal with it, right? But somehow we need to meet people demand, as some of you already know about it, and Ben also alluded to it. We have many different ways to increase our agricultural productions. For example, we can increase efficiency of agricultural productions. We can grow more corns and soybeans in these countries instead somebody else cut down trees in other places to grow corns. And we may think about our bioenergy policy to reduce the corn use for ethanol productions. And we may raise more cattle here. So people in other places may not have to cut trees down to raise the cattle there. So there's a lot of complications. I mean, a lot of implications, a lot of things we can do. Now, in terms of equity, we know this is there, right? And some countries, we do have a lot of abundant resources or easy access to food and to some other resources. In some other place, may not. That's just something we probably can talk about for a long, long time. But I think we also need to do something on that as well. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, thank you for that answer. All right, now the next question I have is you briefly were talking about biofuels, and I'm curious when you're looking at you know, the option of using biofuels, moving away from fossil fuels for gasoline and using biofuels. Is there a way to scale that up and not, you know, contribute to global forest loss, or is that going to go hand in hand?
All right, so that's again, so when you think about anything going to scale up, it depends on how big the scale. If it's scale too big, so, you know, it's always something going on. So the question here is, how big should we scale up? So we need to look at a big pictures. And we need to look at overall balance between biofuel production, between greenhouse gas emission, and between other needs, human being needs. Now, this is not easy. The market itself sometimes cannot do the perfect job. Sometimes we need a government intervention. Sometimes we need a public participation to help to eventually find the delicate balance. What is the scale? What is the proper way to balance production of different product we need? Meanwhile, try to protect our environment at the best we can.
All right, great. So my next question then is going to be about climate change. And I was just wondering if you could talk about the connection between deforestation and climate change.
So some of you look at the greenhouse gas emission, right? Deforestation is one of the biggest greenhouse gas emissions. It's equivalent to emission from automobile global-wise. So you can see the issue is big, especially in some countries like Indonesia, Malaysia, Brazil as well. Deforestation is a major emissions for some of these countries. So what we can do? So we need to do something to think about, right? We need to think about should we buy the products, or particularly those nice tables, furnitures, made from tropical timbers, or should we be going to buy pine wood, the table made of pine from East Texas? You can think about. I know some of you like tropical timber because it looks so nice, right? It looks so nice. But pine also looks very nice if you think about environmental impact. So I think if we consider what is the best for our futures, what's the best for all of us, you probably can make a lot of better choice. And meanwhile, we probably can help save tropical forests, meanwhile, reduce emission and mitigate climate change.
All right, great. And then, so this is going to be my final question. And it kind of relates to the fact that you were just talking about that as consumers, we have power as consumers. So a lot of the deforestation is related to demand. It's what you kind of talked about earlier. So I was just wondering if you could, if you could maybe comment on the role of capitalism, as a system, as an economic system, and how that relates to deforestation.
Now, deforestation is related to many reasons. Capitalism is not the only reason. Capitalism actually can do either way, either can promote environmental protections, or if we don't be careful, can harm environmental protections. So I don't really think capitalism is the harmful factors, but driving for profit maximizations, especially for a subset of human beings, that is no good. So, for example, as a consumer, we probably don't know exactly where the food, where the food and where the wood come from, because when they made the final products, it's harder to distinguish where they come from. But if we find a way to detect or try to monitor the process of wood productions, global supply chain, or maybe able to help us to make a better choice. So capitalism, in other way, can help us invest in technology improvement, for example, clean technology or more efficient technologies. And that also can make money too. So depending on how to use capital. If you use the capital for the goodness of human being, it's great. But definitely some people use the capital for other reasons. We try to avoid that kind of behavior.
All right, thank you. Yeah, I think that was a really detailed, very logical kind of response, and good way to think about that and how everything's connecting and kind of the choices that people make, and how not necessarily the systems in place, but kind of the people and the decisions that they're making in relation to how these systems are operating. So thank you for explaining that. And that's all the questions that I have. I don't see any other questions in the chat. Before I have just a concluding slide I was going to show here. Before I get to that, is there any other anything else that you wanted to leave us with, Professor Gan? Any other thoughts?
No, thank you very much. Take care and be thoughtful with whatever you're doing, whatever you buy, whatever you use, and whatever you can help. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Appreciate your time and your effort in putting this together. Definitely learned a lot. So I'm just going to quickly share my screen here. And I just wanted to let you all know that what I said earlier is that this is the last event that we are going to host as the Office of Sustainability. So this will be the last time I will be here hosting an event. However, tomorrow, sorry, the date is wrong. It should say October 29th or October 30th, my apologies. Tomorrow there's going to be a Coastal Communities and Justice Roundtable, and that should be really interesting. So that's a separate event that's being held by a different entity at Texas A&M. So it's not our event, but you can definitely check that out. And it's really related to sustainability and justice. So please check that out. And yeah, so with that, I just wanted to let you know that there is a final code word. It was green. Thought that was a good way to wrap things up, thinking about forests, thinking about sustainability, taking things back to the basics. So green, we definitely want to see more green on our planet Earth. So thank you all for your time, for your attention, for spending your month with us. And hopefully you've kept track of your code words. You're gonna get your water bottle, your t-shirt, and you know, and I think Professor Gan just really put things in perspective. Just a lot of the things happening in the world today, we have a lot of power with the choices that we make every day. You know, we may not be able to impact or change all of the systems, everything in the way that we want them, but we do have individual power and we can put pressure on systems. And also, obviously, it's, you know, it's time to vote. So get out and vote, you know, think about sustainability when you vote. And what are the issues that you care about? How do you want to see the world be a better place? And I think one thing we all want to see is more green and more forests and a better quality of life for all of us. So again, thanks, Professor Gan. Thanks, everyone, for watching. And hope all of you take care, stay safe, wear your masks, and social distance. Take care, everyone. Bye.
Thank you all. Bye now.